I grew up in a small coastal town where nothing ever really changed. The same fishing boats left the harbor every morning. The same gulls screamed above the docks. And every evening the fog rolled in from the ocean like it always had. But there was one place nobody liked to talk about. The lighthouse. It stood on a narrow strip of rock about half a mile from the shore. Tall, blackened by storms, and empty for almost 30 years. The lighthouse keeper disappeared in 1994. No body was ever found. After that, the town shut the place down and built a modern automated beacon farther down the coast. The old lighthouse was left to rot, and for decades, it stayed dark. Until last month, the first person who noticed was a fisherman named Carl. Carl had been fishing those waters longer than I'd been alive. One night he came into the bar near the docks, looking pale. He told everyone the lighthouse had turned on. Nobody believed him. The wiring had been ripped out years ago. The power lines had collapsed in a storm long ago. There was no electricity running to that rock anymore. But Carl swore he saw the beam. A slow white circle sweeping across the water. People laughed it off. Carl had a reputation for drinking. But 2 nights later, someone else saw it. Then another. Within a week, half the town had witnessed the same thing. The abandoned lighthouse was shining again. I didn't believe it either. At least not until I saw it myself. It was close to midnight when I was driving along the coastal road. Fog covered the water, thick and low. And then I saw it. A bright beam cutting through the mist. Slow, steady, exactly like an operating lighthouse. Except it was coming from the abandoned tower. I pulled the car over and watched it sweep across the ocean again. And again. And again. There was no doubt. The lighthouse was working. The next morning, the town council contacted the Coast Guard. 2 inspectors were sent to investigate. They took a boat out to the rock. People watched from the shore as the boat approached the tower. For about an hour, nothing happened. Then, the inspectors came back. According to them, the lighthouse was completely dead. No power, no generator, no light source. Just dust, rust, and broken stairs. They said what people were seeing must have been reflections from passing ships. But that explanation didn't sit right with anyone, because the beam kept appearing every night. After a week of rumors and arguments, curiosity got the better of me. I borrowed a small boat from my uncle. My plan was simple. Wait until the light appeared, then go see it myself. That night, the fog was thicker than usual. The ocean was quiet. Too quiet. I sat in the boat about 200 meters from the rock, watching the dark outline of the lighthouse. Midnight passed. Then 1 o'clock. Nothing. I started thinking the whole thing had been imagination. Then suddenly, the light turned on. Not slowly, not gradually. It just appeared. A bright white beam blasting out across the ocean. I felt my stomach drop. Because the light wasn't rotating like a normal lighthouse, it was moving, but not smoothly. It jerked across the water in sudden jumps, like something inside was searching. I started the engine and moved closer. The closer I got, the stranger it felt. The air around the rock felt colder. The fog seemed thicker, and the beam kept sweeping across the ocean in those strange, uneven motions. When I finally reached the base of the lighthouse, I tied the boat to a rusted metal ladder. The beam passed directly over me. For a second, the entire ocean lit up, and that's when I noticed something in the water. Shapes. Far below the surface. Huge shapes moving slowly beneath the waves. I climbed inside the lighthouse. The door had already fallen off its hinges years ago. Inside, everything smelled like salt and decay. Broken steps spiraled upward into darkness. But the light was definitely coming from above, and it was getting brighter. As I climbed the stairs, I noticed something strange. Wet footprints leading upward. Large ones, much larger than a normal person's. The beam suddenly stopped moving. Everything went silent. I reached the top of the stairs, and that's when I saw it. The lantern room wasn't empty. Something enormous was inside, pressed against the glass. Tall, thin, and pale. Its long arms stretched across the metal frame where the light used to be. And the beam was coming from its head. A blinding white glow from where its face should have been, slowly sweeping across the ocean. Searching, the thing turned toward me, and for a moment the light pointed directly at my face. I couldn't see anything except pure white, but I heard something, a sound like hundreds of whispers, all speaking at once. Then the beam moved away, and the thing looked back out toward the ocean, as if I wasn't important, as if it was waiting for something else. That's when I looked out through the glass. The ocean was moving, not waves, something beneath the surface. Dozens of massive shadows slowly gathering around the rock, circling the lighthouse, waiting. I left. I don't remember climbing down the stairs. I don't remember starting the boat. I only remember the beam sweeping across the water as I fled back toward shore. Still searching, still calling. The lighthouse still turns on every night. The Coast Guard stopped investigating weeks ago. They say it's just rumors, but the fishermen have stopped sailing in that direction. Because sometimes, when the fog is thick enough, you can see shapes rising out of the water, answering the light. And whatever lives inside that lighthouse, it isn't guiding ships. It's guiding something else. From the deep,